Hello, divine beings. We are now halfway through this book. My book, Journey from the Ego to the Heart Center, out now. You can pre-order it at Amazon or Pegasus Publications. This is the Author Talk series. We are now up to chapter 11, Conscious Parenting Journey. You can see I really love conscious parenting. I think I've dedicated about 3 or 4 chapters to it because it really has changed my life. And before becoming a mother, I had not heard of this concept of parenting the self and honoring the self through self-care. This has been overlooked in all the parenting books that I had read, as they all focus on the birth, delivering the baby, and raising the child. None of these books I read discuss the importance of practicing self-care and accepting children as they are, without trying to fix or correct them to meet our needs. Once again, Dr. Shefali challenged me to look at my inner child and realize that parenting had very little to do with raising the child. Instead, it had all to do with raising the child within me, the adult self, without projecting my emotional baggage and trauma onto my child. And once I parented myself, I would be able to love myself with all my imperfections and flaws in a graceful way. And I continue on. Dr. Shefali is very eloquent how she talks about the false self or the ego. And what amazes me is that I look back when I first became a mum, and it's so easy, like, to just give birth. You're in there for 3-4 days and you're sent off with this newborn baby, but we have no qualifications. It's interesting, like, and it's the biggest job that we'll ever do in our whole life, like raising a person till they're 18 or 21. And that fascinates me. Like, when you go for a job, you need to have qualifications. You need to have a degree or some sort of expertise or show some competence. But if I give birth tomorrow, I'm a parent, and that's it. And I just find that so odd. It just amazes me how that happens. And I suggest in this book, it would be so good if we were taught these techniques from a young age, so it became part of our everyday state of being. But not only that, when we knew we were ready to have a family, we actually put ourselves through a spiritual quest for self-mastery, whether it's 12 months or 9 months, whatever it needs to be. But we start to work on healing our inner child wounds. We seek counsel. We enroll in a self-development course to befriend the shadow, to befriend the ego, and we work on this myriad of triggers so we don't project them on this baby. Because when they come into the world, I don't know why, but we feel like after they turn 1 or 2 and they start walking, we're already like trying to fix them, already trying to like project all these belief systems onto them, and it just taints that pureness. It taints that beautiful spirit of child that came from God. Like, it's so pure, and it saddens me sometimes. Like, I know that people of culture think they're doing well, but oh my goodness, sometimes I think we crush these children too early in life. We don't give them the chance to just explore the world without our projections being dumbed on them. Like, it's just, that's just me. But I feel like a lot of our belief systems are quite egoic because we're caught up in the illusion that they're true. And if we could just allow our kids to just come into the world and find their path and just teach us something for once, rather than us trying to teach them, I think we would learn a lot from them, because they are so connected with Mother Earth. So this is what this chapter is about, conscious parenting. It's so different. It invites you to go on a journey of self-discovery. It allows you to discover what it is to be authentic, because when you start to practice conscious parenting and you start to let go of judgment, you then become less judgmental of your children. You start to then have less expectations of them. And it's not being lazy. It's actually just being very consciously aware of how you speak to them. Are you lifting them up or are you putting them down? Because a lot of parents think they're doing good for the child by pushing them and guiding them to go into this career path and just, almost like it's like a prescribed checklist. They tick all the boxes of all the milestones that they have to achieve, and it's all about the academic grades, and they have to go to the best school. And you know what I've learned over time is that doesn't really matter. You can have a very academic child that hits all the grades, but they can later on in life just throw it and just say, I don't want to do this anymore. And some of those children have the mental breakdowns later in life because they've realized they've lived their life for their parent, not for themselves. And their parent doesn't even want to know them. They've just totally divorced them and said, no, you can't be that person that you want to be. You need to be this because this is what our culture tells us you have to do. And I just think it's really sad. Like, I remember that I enjoyed doing art, and I remember my dad going, no, don't do art. What's that going to get you to? And it's just like, I missed an opportunity. So then my mind became very focused on science. And I did dance and I did a bit of sport, but I would have loved to explore a bit more art because I knew I was actually okay with it. I was pretty good with it. I had a good technique. But it's because sometimes our parents, it's done in an unconscious way. I don't think they even realize it, but sometimes they crush their children's dreams because it doesn't meet their expectations. And you miss these beautiful moments that maybe that could have been a skill set that I could have been really good at, and I'll never know. So what I've learnt with my own children, I allow them to do multiple hobbies. If they drop the hobby, I don't mind that. I try and encourage them to stay in it for as long as they can. But if they're just not vibing it, or they don't feel safe in it, or it's just not their thing, they're not their jam, then that's okay. I don't expect them to do something for 10 years. Like, I think life is about growth. It's a journey. Some things suit us and then some things don't. It's like we get what we need and then it's okay to move on and find something else. And if you don't find, that's okay. If you don't want to do a hobby, you don't want to play a sport, I'm okay with that. I don't want to be the stage mum that is dictating their life. When they're ready to go and do something, I will happily enroll them and I will support them. But I don't feel it's my job to be saying, right, you need to do this course or you need to do this. Like, I'll suggest it, I'll encourage it, I'll present the pros and cons of doing it, but at the end of the day, it's their choice. They need to manage and work out where their heart needs to go, what are they into, and fall into that authenticity, not because of what I say that needs to be done. So chapter 11, I go into a deep dive of what it is, how you can bring it into your life. It might be triggering. There's a lot of questions, and it might even like challenge you on how you were raised. You might look at how you're raising your child, and you might pick up things that you might want to bring into your home. So, be open to this chapter. And again, I do put another QR code there, if you can see. And this is more about Dr. Shefali and her podcast. She has a really good podcast at the moment. And it's real parents just coming up and saying, this is the problem I have, I need a solution. And what I like about Dr. Shefali, she listens and she really looks at the parent and gets them to go internal to find where did that belief come from, and she helps them unpack it and then gives them a new perspective of how about approaching it this way. And a lot of the parents are just so appreciative and so grateful that she was able to tap into that inner child or that little inner wound that has been sitting buried for many years. Because a lot of the parents that do come on the podcast are there because they are having challenging, like they're butting heads with their child, and Dr. Shefali is very gentle in showing them your child is mirroring back to you where you feel that you're not good enough, or maybe you're still in judgment, or maybe you're projecting your limiting beliefs, your lack onto them. And when they start to look inward and they realize, oh, it's me, I've created this, I don't have to fix my child, I just need to love them as they are, they just leave the show with a whole new way of being. And some have come back after practicing the change, and they just say thank you for showing me where I need to grow up and where I need to be more awakened and more attuned to my child's emotional needs, and where I need to self-regulate first before I can show up for them. And that's what I love about the series. I'm still learning, and I love listening to her podcast. I love reading her books. I also recommend check out The Parenting Map. That was the last book she did. These are amazing books, and they're going to be her legacy. But my legacy for you is in this book. I just rave on about conscious parenting because I truly believe it's a game changer, not only for me, but as their mother, but also for me as the person, Suzanne. I know that it's made a huge difference, and it's made my life much better, that's for sure. I'm much happier, and I'm a better state of mind than I was in chapter 2 and 3. So yeah, chapter 11, check it out. Conscious Parenting, from my book, Journey from the Ego to the Heart Center. And now I'm starting to feel I'm moved away from the ego, and I'm really now coming back to my heart. And that's what conscious parenting does. It teaches us to come back to here. Bye for now.